Hey CAA Facebook fans, we are here this morning in the International Museum of the Horse, and we are going to be taking a look at this Falls Hearse that they have on display. And Emily is here with us. She is one of the curators here?
I'm the curator of collections.
Curator of collections, and she's going to tell us a little bit about her experience with this hearse as we look around at it. How do you go about cleaning a hearse like this?
Well, this hearse had been sitting in our storage for about 10 years since the last time it had been out on display. So it was very dusty, dirty, and muddy around the wheels. So we had to pull it out and put it in one of our big barns here on the park to work on. And being a museum piece, we have to clean it very carefully. So we used water, microfiber cloths, and a little bit of distilled water with alcohol to get it clean. It took a full day of scrubbing top to bottom, and the most fun part was I actually had to climb inside of it to clean, because all the way up to the back window the windows were dirty, there were cobwebs inside, so I had to climb in with a vacuum and vacuum all the drapings and the ceiling, and then I had to wipe down all the glass from the inside and the out, and crawl in and out of the back of it using a step stool and stay on my hands and knees while inside there, because it is a little narrow and short, but it is clean now and ready for display.
So one of the unique things about this particular hearse compared to the other four that we've looked at is this little door down here. And Emily discovered that it does indeed have this door while she was cleaning. We'll look underneath here. And you can see it's a trap door type thing. It looks like it was on hinges, and then it just clips with this piece right here. Yep, that piece moves. And so this is the first one that we've seen that this is open on, which is lovely. And Emily's getting under here with us. And she's going to take that out. And this is so that after a funeral, you could clean it out.
The coffin's on top.
Oh, yes, the coffin's on top, so it won't actually move. But you get the idea that it moves. And you could clean the flowers and whatever else you might have in there out. And that's how you got those type of things out before there was vacuums, which is just, this is the first time I personally have seen one that works like this. So I think that's just incredibly nice. And also thank you to the museum, because they brought out extra lighting so that we could see that. So let's go around and take a look at this hearse. It is from Rock Falls Manufacturing, which was in Illinois, Sterling, Illinois. I believe that they were a hydroelectric plant at one point. They were on the river. They were using water to make the plant work, by all accounts. This is dated around 1895. Some of you who are up on these things may remember the World's Fair was in Chicago about 1893, and Rock Falls did have carriages on display at that World's Fair. Now, some of you are going to ask, where did I get this information? And we have a handy-dandy horse-drawn funeral vehicles book. It is available at the CAA bookstore if you need one. Now, the thing that is really interesting about this particular hearse, and I was intrigued by it the other day, are these right here. So these are the single trees, whiffletrees, however you want to say that, and they are called loose ones. And you'll notice that they move all the way around, and they swing side to side. Now, we're not really sure yet how or why they would have done this on a funeral vehicle. Still researching that part. If you have a single horse and you're using a single tree, which is the same item, it's probably connected like right here with a bolt, and those are called pivot single trees. This is called a loose one, and particularly James Cunningham, who made a lot of hearses, had these identified on his vehicles. This would have had a pole, a fixed pole, not a drop pole, fixed pole, and so it would have been pulled by two horses. Most hearses were, although there are some single ones. I believe this is called a dicky seat. If it is not, I'm sure somebody will let me know. And if you have a question or a comment, feel free to write it in there. Now, I looked up these lamps. It's hard to tell exactly because they're not in the actual book, but I think they probably would have gone in the $30 to $40 range at the time that they were sold. They're not the most elaborate lamps. This would have been a pretty average person's hearse. It is painted black, so ideally it would have been used for the funerals of gentlemen. If they're white, they're typically used for women, the funerals of women and children. And in theory, if they're gray, they're used by bachelor men or widowed or single women, according to some readings that I've been doing. That's a social thing. So this is a safety feature. You can see how this is multi-sided so that you can step up on it. It has the grips so you don't slide off. And it also has the square nut. Now, as hearses goes, again, this is a relatively plain one. They did make very ornate ones. The columns, though, are very elegant. And as we come around, I know the glass is really clean, so you get my reflection, but you can see the bow. And the bows and the drapes would have changed. If a black hearse was all that they had for a funeral, they would have possibly changed that out to white for a woman or child. But it depends a little bit on money and what's happening in your town. This is at the International Museum of the Horse in Lexington, Kentucky. They are our neighbors. We are also on the grounds of the Kentucky Horse Park. And so nobody's hopping up on the back wheel, so it is a round hub. Now, this did have two doors. They took one off for exhibit purposes. And so this is the door that came off. And you can see the tag, which we all like to see good tags. This is Rock Falls Manufacturing Company of Sterling, Illinois. You can see the door. Now, this particular set of rollers is wooden. If you've watched any of the other videos on hearses that we've done, sometimes they're steel, sometimes they're brass, and the one had cork on it. So they can be made of different things. It depends a little bit on value. These are the rollers to help move it in. They're almost always the same thing. I did learn the other day that expensive hearses, and they could run quite a bit, would have up to 48 rollers in it. And that would just help you move the weight of the coffin in easier. Now, you'll see these little spots here, and they're up here. These are to hold the coffin in. And so you would have put pins in here. And they were either called casket pins or briar pins. And they would have held the casket in place. So you would have put one as close as you could have gotten. And so that way the casket didn't move. Now, the one thing that this vehicle doesn't have that some of the other ones do, and that, again, puts it into the plainer range, it doesn't have a ramp. Some of them had ramps to help get the casket up in, and then the ramp went down underneath. Now, this one doesn't look to be, I think you could probably take it out if you had to, but it doesn't look to be a drop-down one. Oh, here's the spots for the doors to kick on. And I've heard that you could put ice under here for cooling. I'm not sure if that's entirely correct. I did see one account of it, though, because nothing would be worse in the hot summer than to have a non-cool body. That would not make any of us happy. And again, we have the cleaning spot underneath, and we'll go back around and look at that real quick. But you can see the pillars are really nice. It has a little bit of damage right there, but that's okay. The Rock Falls group, as they went on and they got more and more ornate hearses, did win some awards for their craftsmanship and their attention to detail at one of the world's fairs. And pretty normal springs, and I'm not going to trip over the lamp here. So we'd like to again thank the International Museum of the Horse for letting us come over and look at all this and putting the extra lighting in, because this is just really fascinating. So if you weren't here at the beginning of the video, this is how they would have, this opens up. You can't move it right now because the casket's on it, but this comes out and you could sweep the flowers or whatever else that was left in there out to the drop in the bottom. And there is normally a little trap door here that goes in so that mud and muck doesn't splash up in there. But, all right. And their lamps are so nice and clean. I know that there's quite a few of you that enjoy lamps, so we'll take a quick look at that again. I do not see a maker's mark on the lamp. And these are, if you've watched some of the other videos, some of them are, yeah, I know they are fabulous lamps. Some of them are like 3 foot long. These ones are not quite as tall. And this hearse is not quite as tall. Some of the other videos I couldn't reach all the way to the top of the hearse, and this one I can. Now the ceiling on this one is flat. I was learning yesterday about the concave roofs, and boy, they took some craftsmanship to make. But okay, so we had a question about how you would step up. So you would put your foot on this one right here, and again, it's flat. This is a safety feature, and you would just put your foot here, then here, and then stepped up. And so you would have gone over the wheel. This would have been driven by a man, so no worries about skirts or those type of things. All right, did we miss anything, Emily?
No, that was fascinating.
Okay, so we thank the International Museum of the Horse here at the Kentucky Horse Park in Lexington, Kentucky, for inviting us over to take a look at these hearses, or this hearse. And we thank Emily for being here and telling us a little bit about it. And you guys have a great day. Thanks for joining us.